So let's start from your intervention. Geopolitical tensions, emerging markets slow down, advanced economies able to recover but struggling with their demography. Do you believe we are at a turning point for the global economy in the 21st century?
Well, it's an interesting time. We're really in a divergent situation. I'm coming here from the United States, and the U.S. economy has been pretty long, steady, not fast, but steady expansion, and the U.S. economy is in pretty good shape. And as you know, everyone knows by now, the Federal Reserve is seems like they're about to raise interest rates for the first time, and well, they've been zero for 7 years. Most of the rest of the world has been slowing down lately. Europe, Japan, even China, emerging markets in particular, they're all sort of slowing down. So it's an interesting time where we have divergent directions. It may be sort of a turning point for emerging markets.
You stressed the role of China is crucial now. The typical question, hard or soft landing, what can we say as of the end of 2015?
Well, I think some slowdown of China's growth rate is inevitable, and it's almost amusing that a year ago a lot of the reports were breathless about how China had just overtaken the United States as the world's largest economy, which is only true if you do it on a PPP, purchasing power parity basis, and I would argue that's probably not the right basis. But then, you know, almost immediately the commentary turned around and how China is going down the drain, and the stock market bubble that we saw this year that then burst over the summer is part of what got people's attention. I think it was inevitable that China would slow down. It was not going to keep growing at 10% a year forever. The question is, can it stay at 6 or 7%? Will it have a hard landing or a soft landing? And I don't know. Either one is possible.
How are the latest events, I mean, I'm referring to the latest attacks in Europe, affecting the global recovery, and how will they affect in the future, in your point of view, as far as Europe and the globe are concerned?
Well, I mean, you know, the implications are, the attacks are deeply personal and human and political, and very important for thinking through foreign policy. I don't think the economic impacts are going to be all that large. I mean, there is this larger question we're talking about here about whether globalization, which we thought was an inevitable trend, will be turned around. And in some ways it has. I mean, trade has slowed down. And for immigration, you know, that's a real question, whether the Western countries, and we have this in the United States, as well as in Europe, will have a reaction, which would actually kind of be an irrational reaction, I think, to the terrorism by shutting out immigrants. But you know, I mean, that would have an economic dimension.
Eventually, let's go back to what is the topic of the event we're going to celebrate. What role do you foresee for Europe in the world and Italy in Europe in 40 years?
In another 40 years.
Too long a distance.
That's a pretty long distance. I mean, I was here once before on the 20th anniversary of Prometeia, and I was asked to forecast 25 years into the future. And at the time, I thought, well, that's so far into the future, you know, no one will ever check up on me. And then,
did you forecast you would be here again?
I didn't forecast that I would be here again, but I was asked to forecast what the world would look like in 25 years with respect to whether globalization would continue and whether China would overtake the U.S. and all these same questions. And it's long enough that, you know, some interesting answers have come up. You know, I think taking a long view, perhaps the most significant, there's a lot of competition. I mean, if we're talking really long view, then we have to talk about climate change and all kinds of issues. But perhaps taking a long view, the most important development of this period of history will be the developing countries we used to call developing, but we worried whether they really were developing. Maybe we called them underdeveloped or less developed, hopefully developing. But you know, they've made tremendous progress in the last 20 years. And many of them have attained, or some of them have attained European standards of living, American standards of living. Countries like Singapore and Korea that, you know, in my lifetime anyway, were poor countries, have become rich. And many others have made a lot of progress as well. So even though there's some bumps in the road at the moment for the emerging market countries, I think that that trend will continue and is one of the most important trends.